I'm Jeffrey Villardwen as Jeffrey Iron Fist. I'm in the world of tanks. I've been on a holiday. I was a little bit burnt out since my last period of modding, as it usually happens after some intense modding. And I happened to be watching some videos that Pixelated Apollo and Jackie Fish made about war of tanks. And so I decided to try this game out a little bit, since there's no such type of game in the Total War series covering the Second World War. It's of course difficult to do in the Total War series, that type of format. Those of you who are Total War fans will be probably disappointed. There's very little strategy, well, practically no strategy, very little tactics in this game. It's basically a first-person shooter game. Instead of shooting yourself around corners, you shoot with a tank. It's a little bit silly. In any case, I'll say what I like and what I don't like about this game. One thing that I like is the wonderful graphics. They're amazing. And here's one of my favorite tanks. It's a French Hotchkiss H35. I've called it Fort de France after some victories gained and some medals. It's a very tough little tank, and now we're in night time. This is a German tank. This is an artillery piece from the early war. It's called a self-propelled gun. The actual name was something like Gepanzerte something or rather Mark 4B. And we are in night now, so this is the latest kind of garage format that this company has. When you go into the video, when you go into the game, your tanks are in this so-called garage, and now they're celebrating their 20th anniversary with fireworks. They're only virtual fireworks, and you can see your tanks in this interesting display. It looks like a European place, probably somewhere in Russia potentially, but it's all fictitious, of course not real. You get various new tanks displayed in the background, your favorite tank, the one you select in the middle. Here's a Panzer III in winter camouflage. And there's something in Russian written at the back, Barzona or something. I don't know Russian. And here's another one, another tank. It's also a German tank. This is a Panzer II Lux, which this thing stands for Lynx, the animal. 20th anniversary, you can see 20 in the background. And this is a very fearsome tank, not in my hands, but in other people's hands. It's a light tank, but some people use it very, very well. And if you see it on the battlefield, you have to worry. So the format is mostly Second World War tanks, and you only get tanks in battles. You don't get anti-tank guns, anti-tank mines, aircraft, infantry with anti-tank weapons, artillery of any kind, except self-propelled guns. So that's a little bit boring in that way. There's no context, there's no battles. Another thing that I don't like particularly is that there are tanks of any nationality mixed in your team and the opposite team. So nationality is irrelevant. And I find this utterly confusing, because there's a battle, there's various tanks out there, you're trying to shoot at someone, there's some German tanks, there's some French tanks, there's some, and you think, which one should I shoot for? There are some red flags and green flags all floating about them. And I have no time to look for the flags or something, you know, if they're all nationalities mixed up, you don't know who to shoot at. So here's another self-propelled gun of mine. It's been moderately successful, it's gained some medals. I've called it the Nostradamus Bombard. So it is. The game is free in principle to play, but you won't do very well because your free crews are worthless, your win rate will be terrible, and you give yourself a real hard time. So you do have to spend money on it to get trained crews and various other things, to put camouflage on the tanks, which is just nice, I guess. But it helps a little bit, every little bit helps. You can put better equipment on your tanks if you have some money to spend, you're willing to spend a little bit of money. You can also do it without money. You can get some special tanks, you can also get those only for money. So this is that other little self-propelled gun I showed you in the beginning. It's from the early war. At this point it's gained some medals as well, so I call it Brunhild. which was the name of a German heroine, some sort of princess of German folklore, who killed some enemy kings. So I've called it Brunhild. It's a bit of a joke. I hope people see it as that. So what else do I have to say except this kind of gimmicky nature of shooting around corners with your tanks, which is totally unrealistic. The fact that there are only tanks in the game is totally realistic. The fact that nationalities are mixed up together, which I find utterly confusing. Several times I've shot at tanks which were on my team because somehow at the heat of the moment I saw a German tank and I was in a Russian tank, so I shot it. And then noticed the flag above it, and the flag was red or green, sorry. So green is for good. Green is like green and the greeny stuff and vegetables and peas or something. Red is bad, is the color of hate. So if you see red over an enemy tank or a tank, it means it's an enemy tank. But if they're all mixed together, there's green and red sort of flags floating above them. You can't tell which is which, and it's very difficult. They have some paragram around them, but in the heat of the moment you're shooting at a German tank, you know. Anyway, so here's Brunhild in this wonderful background. So some positive things are these graphics, which are absolutely amazing. You'll see in the battles the graphics are kind of war fantasy graphics, very, very beautiful. There's these scenes of bombarded German cities and so on, very beautiful. Also, here's this tank we will be playing as. This is a French tank from the early wars. It's a tank destroyer. I've called it Nostradamus after he won a few medals and Top Gun medals and stuff like that. Ace Tanker medals and so on. So here is my Nostradamus tank destroyer. Also a joke, I hope people get it. And we'll see a battle in it, in which I did very well, which is not very typical, okay? So don't try to learn any lessons from the fact I did very well. You also see the kind of arcadish nature of this game. So here's the beginning of the battle. So we're about to start the battle. This is a Renault FT AC tank destroyer. Tank destroyers were tanks that had paper-thin armor usually, but a good gun, so they could fire from the distance. So the weight carried by the tank was the weight of the good gun, rather than the armor. And so here it is in front of us, from behind. It looks a little bit like a chameleon. That's how I like to think of it. And it's already won a few battles. This was one of his best performances. So this is the Nostradamus tank destroyer. And I have a lot of French tanks, I quite like them. They're all from the early war. So here's the enemy. So they're highlighted in red. You can see they also have these red flags floating about them. I'm shooting at them and I'm missing constantly for some reason. Here I hit that one. That was a hit. The commentator said there's a hit there, another hit there. And so they are trying to get up that road towards that monastery. And we have some of our own tanks with the green flags on our side. But sometimes green flags and red flags mix, and we're looking at them behind the bushes, and you cannot see very clearly, but there are some bushes. You can see them through the bushes here. I hit one. It was in the monastery on top of that hill. And I hit that one. I haven't killed any tanks yet. I managed to score some kills. And you can see sometimes they get highlighted. You just see this highlight of the tank because we're looking through the bushes and the foliage and the trees and so on. It's weird. It's so arcadish. Here it is. Finally, I killed my first tank. It was there up in the monastery, among sort of the walls and the buildings. I managed to kill it. And so I was saying, you know, sometimes in this melee with all these friendly and enemy tanks, all the flags are mixed together. If you just move your gun to shoot at someone, you don't always know is it a friend or a foe, because the tanks are all mixed up. It's not as if, you know, I shouldn't be shooting at German tanks or French tanks or something, because they're all mixed up. So there are some more tanks there. Here's one. That was a good tank that hit there. Panzer 38H. And another one. So I took out a couple of good tanks there. So I've got 3 tanks now. on my score list. There's a fourth tank there. That's out as well, so we've done really well. That's about, if I had done that well in a battle, I would be totally satisfied. Even killing one tank is enough for me. Killing 4 is pretty good. And so the battle continues. The enemy persists in taking this hill and this little town, this village with a monastery. And this tank, this light tank there, I keep missing it. It's moving very fast, I can't hit it. M2 light, I think it's an American tank. It's very fast, very hard to shoot. There, I missed several times. Just can't get him. So I'm hoping he's gonna pop out of that corner of that house now. Is he gonna do that? He's done it. Just went out of the radar, disappeared. That's another gimmicky thing, you know, sometimes you see them, sometimes you don't, they just vanish when you don't see them. And when you see them, they're highlighted in red. You still cannot see the tank, but you can see the highlight. It's totally arcadish. It's the definition of arcadish. I hate that. And so you can see how we can see through these transparent branches and leaves. Also very arcadish. It's a mechanic of a game, but it's really stupid. I don't know why they're transparent. I don't know why the enemy tanks have flags. I missed him again. I just keep missing. I want to kill this guy, but just can't hit him. He's moving so fast. So in the meantime, if you can see in the lower radar map, the lower right hand corner, our left wing has just disappeared, melted away. So there's threat on that side. So here I'm playing a waiting game. I want to get that M2 light, but I begin to worry about this left flank. An enemy tank has appeared over on this side. Oh, it's an H-35, Horchis H-35. It's a dangerous tank. Managed to score some hits. I immobilized him and he caught fire. He burned, he exploded. Oh, someone is shooting at me. Okay, our captain said the guy from that hill is shooting at us. The M2 light, very troublesome tank. So I pulled back, he keeps shooting at me. I'm out of sight, hopefully by now. Oh, he's out of sight. Another tank has appeared up there in the street. 2 of them! They're tank destroyers. Renault FT AC like mine. I scored some hits, but he escaped. Score more hits. Oh, we got him. I needed 4 shots to kill him. The other guy got 3 shots from me, but he survived. And the M2 light that was on that monastery is already approaching our base. So he's about to appear around that corner. He did. He fired a shot, missed me, and I killed him. So we've got 7 tanks now. That's not so bad. So somebody shooting at us is their artillery. Nearly hit me, missed me just. I was lucky. Keep shooting, but now moved away from that spot. He cannot see me. My position was reported by the tank, that M2 light. But fortunately I moved away on time and so I didn't get hit. So the enemy has an artillery piece, a self-propelled gun somewhere way back. And by now we're 4v3, we're winning just slightly. We've lost 11 tanks, the enemy has lost 12. Our driver was wounded and I had to use our emergency kit, and he's been healed now. I have the graphics at a low setting because I'm playing on a rather basic laptop, so I can't have the best settings. The graphics look better than that. So this is what the graphics look at the lowest setting. At least the frames per second are high. So now we're playing a waiting game. You have to be patient in a tank destroyer. The M2 light No, there's another tank up there. We got him. It was the FT AC tank destroyer that I had lamed earlier on. Was still alive, tried to pop a shot at us. Made the mistake to move into our view, so got him. So, 8 tanks. That's the best I've done. I've had a couple of battles in which I killed 8 tanks, or 7 tanks and so on, but not many. These are hard to come by. Usually I'm satisfied if I can kill 1 enemy tank, or if I can contribute in some other way by scouting and so on. You get ratings at the end of how well you've done. If I'm in the top 50% of my team, I'm happy. If I'm in the top 5%, I'm super happy. Okay, so here's the enemy, one of the enemy tanks, the 2 surviving enemy tanks. So I'm turning around slowly. Oh, this gun has a very poor traverse, so I have to turn some more. Here he is, 1 shot in. He got me. He stopped for a minute, great for me, but he got me in the end. He fired 3 shots, I fired 2 shots, I didn't kill him, and then he fired back and he killed me. And so what we can do now is watch the battle from the radar map, the mini-map on the lower right hand corner, because now I'm dead. I'm not doing anything, the tank is dead. So you can see we have 2 friendly tanks, the H35, the Hodges H35 and an L60. They're advancing on the flanks. And we have the TKS-20, it's a little Polish tank. It's an enemy tank in red near our base. Our base is that green circle with a flag, sometimes called the cop circle for some reason. The circle you must capture, that's what it means. Why it's called a cop circle, it's an American thing, I suppose. So it's our base, our camp. We also have a 3rd tank, this Gepanzerte Mark 6 gun. It was a German self-propelled gun. Sitting way at the back, can't do much, just basically an artillery piece on tracks, on treads. And the Polish tank, the TKS-20, is approaching our base. The L60 must have it on its sights, but it's not shooting. Maybe he's a little bit nervous. The H35 went down a slope to come and shoot at him, but then the Su-18 appeared. That's a Russian tank destroyer from the early part of the war. Very dangerous for the Hodges H35, but our friend managed to kill him. The enemy Polish tank, the TKS-20, is now close to our base, is looking for any potential enemy tanks, which is our friendly tanks. He's gone out of view, he's hiding in the bushes, we cannot see him at the moment. And there he appears in the cap circle. So we have 3 tanks and he's just on his own. He could still win if he stays in the cap circle for 2 minutes and he doesn't get killed. He would win. So we have to kill him. So the guy with the L60 is on a hill. He's firing at him with a machine gun. That's all he has. He has a machine gun on his tank and he's firing at him. These are early war tanks from 1940. 1939, 1940, so they are not very well armed. So some tanks at that time were armed with machine guns. So he has a machine gun, he's shooting into the cap circle, but he cannot see him. So the enemy tank is gone, invisible. And the H-35 is approaching. There's less than a minute left. If that minute runs out, we lose the battle. That would be a shame. On the other hand, it would be great for the Polish tank, for the enemy player. So the H-35 is making it up the hill. There is less than 30 seconds left and he spots the enemy tank. And he's taken out simultaneously by the 2 tanks. The H-35 is credited the kill, but I think they fired at it simultaneously and they both killed it at the same time. So here are the results. So this is what you get at the end of a battle. So in this particular battle, this tank got a mastery badge, an ace tanker, for killing 8 tanks. Then you got the Reaper badge, that's for killing at least 3 enemy vehicles with consecutive shots. That's another thing, or in a row, I'm not really sure. Then we got the Arsonist, because one of the enemy tanks that Panzer 38H exploded. We hit the ammo rack, the ammunition rack, or the engine or something that caused an explosion. Then we have the fire for effect for, I think, shooting. I think it's mostly for shooting a lot of enemy tanks, causing more damage than the hit points of your vehicle or something like that. Then we got the bruiser effect for damaging a lot of enemy tanks, causing damage. Eventually I killed most of them, but if you don't kill them, you still, your damage counts, and so you get something. And if you damage a lot of tanks, then you get this bruiser badge. And of course I got the Top Gun medal for killing at least 6 enemy tanks. That's when you get it. If you kill 6 enemy tanks, you get one of those. And I'm not sure how many I have, maybe half a dozen. So it's not so easy. I've got half a dozen in the few weeks I've been playing this game. So it's not so easy to kill more than 6 tanks. It's quite hard, or at least 6 tanks. So you get the idea. This is everything there is. There isn't anything else. There isn't like a campaign or whatever. I mean, there are some sort of versions or something. You can do something like a campaign with other players and other teams. You have to subscribe and then something happens. I haven't tried that. But this is the standard game. This is what you can play when you first join in. There isn't anything else. That's all there is. There's this shootout between 15 tanks on either side. And some of the tanks are of the same tier, as we saw here. They were all the same tier. But sometimes you get tanks which are higher tier tanks in the battle. And then your low tier tanks are going to have a very hard time when this happens, and it happens quite a lot, except in the lowest tiers, like in tier 1 and tier 2. If once you go into tier 3, especially tier 4 and above, it happens a lot. And tiers don't have anything to do so much with chronology, like which year, like it was 1939 or 1940 or something. Don't have anything to do with that. Rather, the tanks are matched. So if the Russians get very good tanks, they get to play only in tier 4, 5 or 6 or something. And if the British got crappy tanks, they get to play in tier 1 and 2. So it's not that the tiers reflect the year of the war or anything like that. Okay. So that's a preview. Make of it what you will. Maybe some of you will find it interesting. If you do, send me a note. Maybe we can team up as a platoon. If you're interested, if you play this game at all. And I hope you can reflect on it in a worthwhile way. Thank you for watching.